Hey guys, Matty Miller with Pursuit Real Estate. And today, a lot of you obviously have noticed that we had the National Association Realtors settlement, and that's going to come with a few changes. But one quick thing I wanted to touch base with is the buyer brokerage agreements and or touring agreements, showing agreements, whatever you want to call them, and kind of what to expect if you're thinking about getting in the home market soon as a buyer. And we can kind of talk about what the home market looks like on the backside of this, but we'll talk about buyer agreements and kind of what to expect moving forward. All right, so I kind of chuckled when I said if you're entering the market as a home buyer, and the reason why is probably because my last video, everybody's like, oh my gosh, the real estate market is changing. It's becoming a buyer's market, at least in our local market. I think around the country, it's maybe worse than other places. And guys, when I say that, I don't mean to sound like it's going to be some kind of crazy crash. That is not my point. That is not what anybody wants or needs. This is an entirely different situation than 2009. This is going to be a soft landing correction, if you will. And honestly, I can see it kind of bouncing back in a year or two. It's not a huge correction, or not something where, we're going to see foreclosures like crazy. This is not that. So if you're sitting there thinking that you want to sit around and wait for things to hit the bottom of the floor, I think you're going to be sorely mistaken. But if you're a seller and you want to make the most money you want to now, you probably should do it now. Or you probably should have done it 6 months ago. But that being said, so kind of one of those things that's going to change with all this lawsuits as we enter into a buyer's market as licensed agents. We are now required, and that includes anybody that's going to show you a house. So anybody who has a license to open up a lockbox, show you a house, is going to ask you to sign something. Okay, that can be one of two things. That can be a full-on buyer brokered agreement, where you as the buyer are going to agree to pay that person a said commission, okay, that can be negotiated to show that house, and they will get paid when they purchase a home, okay? That's the formal buyer brokerage agreement. There's also a simpler form, and I'll kind of look at it as there's kind of dating and there's going steady. So we have a buyer brokerage agreement, which definitely means you're dating. You've engaged someone, you've hired me to show you a property here, and you really want to offer on it, and oh, you know what, that one didn't work out, but we're going to go look at this one, and all you got to do is call me. We have an agreement signed that you're going to pay me a commission as the buyer. We'll circle back on that. You technically aren't going to pay me the commission, hopefully, but you would be on the hook for that if said seller was not willing to pay commissions. That's a whole deeper conversation, and I can explain that if you have questions. But you're going to be asked to sign something to agree to pay a buyer agent to show you property if you buy a home. Okay. The other option is Zillow, I believe, is calling it what do they call it? A touring agreement. Okay. So your prepaid Zillow leads will now come with an automatic signed touring agreement via an online form, which is something that for anybody that's using Zillow or implementing, you're now agreeing basically to use a Zillow agent who you've probably never met to pay them to look at houses, which is going to kind of be interesting for a lot of people. We also have something similar. It's called a showing agreement. So if you call me and say, hey, Matt, I want to look at 4 or 5 properties, I can actually agree to show you those properties with said commission in there, but it's tied to the specific property. So I can only show you 123 ABC Street or 123 Smith Street in that given day. I'd have to have you sign something to show those 2 properties to you specifically. But if we have a buyer brokerage agreement, that can be a situation where that lasts 6 months, 8 months, whatever. And if we buy a house in that particular time frame, then you're good to go. So I know that's a lot, but the main thing is, and the biggest point is, you're going to have to sign something before you look at houses at all. And that's a big change for a lot of people. And it can be scary. And if you don't know what you're doing, or you don't trust the person you're dealing with, or don't know the person you're dealing with, that can be an unsettling feeling. And I actually think in the long run, it's fantastic. And I have a smirk on my face because I think that real estate is based on trust. If someone's going to help you and your family find a home, you want to trust that person, they have your back. Totally think that's a good thing. So again, if you guys have questions about that in the long run, let me know. Be glad to explain it more in depth. I probably rambled a little bit too much on it, but at the same time, if you're unclear or have a concern about what you're going to have to do, or if you've been approached by another agent asking you to sign something and you want a second opinion, guys, we're here for you. Okay. Matty Miller, Pursuit Real Estate. You know where to find me. Guys, have a great day. And if you have any questions, give me a shout.